Yeah, yeah. Never not, never under y'all, never ever, I'm forever on. Check my repertoire, check my repertoire, don't check me now. Unless it's checks involved, I've been feeling like I'm next to God. Next to God, next to God. Never not, never under y'all, never ever, I'm forever on. Check my repertoire, don't check me now. Unless it's checks involved, I've been feeling like I'm next to God. Next to God, next to God. Never fold, never ever fold, never ever stone a rolling stone till I'm in rolling stone.
Welcome, everybody, to yet another episode of The Real Love and Basketball. I am your solo host, Lee Tao. My handsome husband is doing our production today because today I have got some beautiful authors on our show that will be chatting it up with me. I feel so lonely right now. Like, it's just so quiet. Cricket, cricket. But anyways, without further ado, I will go ahead and introduce our new ladies that are coming to the show. Excuse me. Yeah, I have been corrected several times. Coming to the show, we have. Are you bringing them in, or do I need to go ahead and just intro? We have Miss Melinda Michelle, author of 1,000 books. Many have posted, from Chronicles of Warfare to the newest one, The Pretender. Then we have Dr. Lori Kroom, who is, which I have bought several, well, between the two of y'all, I have bought several of these books for 1,000 people. But she is the author of the devotional books, My God Today. Welcome, ladies. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Awesome.
Good,
Glad to
good.
be here.
I'm glad you guys are here. I want to make sure everybody can see everybody. Okay, I can see you guys. Cool. All right. So, what y'all have to understand, usually me and Daryl got a whole bunch of antics and we joking and laughing, but now you guys got to be my partners in crime right now. So, how are
Are
y'all
you sure
doing
about
today?
that?
Listen, I'm not
Cause
even messing with you right now because you already got me irritated with this daggone book that I just read. Okay, I don't even talk to you right now about this. But anyways, how are y'all doing today? What's going on? What's new? Any? So I like to start off usually with like current events, but I like have been out of pocket for like the past 24 hours because we just have 1,000 things going on right now. So what you guys got? You guys got anything you want to chat about or anything pressing that is like, I really do want to just highlight this real quick. What you got?
I don't have anything that I really want to highlight other than, this is my birth month. Shout out to March. Um, but
Wait,
also
what
this
day?
morning, since we're talking about current events, I'm March 12th.
I'm March 7th.
So nice, very nice. But so I was looking, did you guys see the Kanye's video that he came out with?
Oh my gosh. Do I want to see it? That's the question. Do I want to
I
see
saw
it?
the disturbing snippet. That's the most important part.
What happened?
It's very dark. It's very dark. It's called Easy. He just put it on his Instagram, but it's like claymation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, the disturbing part was him. They were kidnapping Kim Kardashian's boyfriend, Pete. What's Pete's last name?
Davidson.
You know what I'm talking about.
Davidson.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Pete
Pete
Davidson.
Davidson.
Yeah, Pete Davidson. Yeah, they kidnapped him. They tied him up. They like buried him. He had his like hand in his head and his head in his hand for half the video, and then they buried him, and then some roses started growing out of the ground. He planted some roses, and then the roses started growing out of his head. So it was really wild. And then I was just like, it was so dark. And I was like, do we need to have a national day of prayer for
Li-
Kanye? It's
Listen.
just gone too far.
So I'm so glad that you said this because this has been like an argument in our household about this man. Okay. So when he had his come to Jesus moment, what was it, last year, where he made the album, the Christian
Yeah.
album, and went to his land out in, I don't know, Oklahoma or something like that, and was just living free, and everybody was like, "Oh, Kanye has flipped over a new leaf, and he's coming to." And I told and Daryl was on his boat too, because he was like, "Yo, the joint is fire, like he for real, like
The
he's just
music was
different."
good.
It was his crit, but I said, Daryl, I'm
Hmm.
gonna tell you what he's really smart at doing is jumping on what's the end thing right now. And past 2 years, even though many of us have a very strong discipleship, right? A lot of people, it was the thing to be a Christian, to be in prayer, to be doing this. This was the thing, and that's what, in my opinion, that's what Kanye jumped on. He jumped on it.
Hmm.
He highlighted it. He magnified it. He used his platform. He got all this big following. But now the truth of what he's really, in my opinion, a struggling man. So
Yeah,
this doesn't surprise me at all. Like, but I'm just
yeah.
totally
So
excited.
here's my 2 cents on it. Unpopular opinion, I've never really been a fan of his like that, as in I'm not gonna buy the album if the song came on the radio and I knew it. Okay, cool. Now this current situation that he got going on, I mean the whole Bible thing, everybody sing gospel because everybody grew up in church. That ain't got nothing to do with it. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned about at the end of that claymation video, the roses that grew out of he fertilized Pete being buried alive. Those are the supposed roses that was delivered to Kim on Valentine's Day because he put them in the back of a truck in the video, just like he did on Valentine's Day.
Oh.
Whoever is assigned to pray for him, whoever pray for them need to go do that. I don't get involved in unnecessary warfare. I have my assignments from God. So whoever's, assigned to him, good luck, sis. Bro, y'all work that out.
Right.
I didn't even
It's
know about that.
it's some real serious prayer and fasting that needs to go along with that, because it is like you said. I feel like he made a comment in the one of his lines. He says, they asked him about going to counseling, and he says, we don't negotiate with therapists. So it's just like, ooh, that's so, so it's almost like I'm not listening to anybody at this point. I'm gonna
Listen,
do
what I want to
do
do.
me.
Yeah. But but after seeing what Little Nas X has been doing, none of this surprises me anymore. Like I just feel like like everybody says, we in the end of times, right? And so these people are just really pushing envelopes and really trying their lives right now. Essentially, like I just don't understand it. I don't even want it now that y'all done gave me the clip it. So I don't need to see this video. I'm sure Daryl at
Yeah,
some point is gonna
it's
Well,
very
double check.
dark, and it could be perceived as a threat to Pete Davidson's even life. So I wouldn't be surprised if it got removed or taken down shortly. But yeah, it's gone too far.
In comparison with the Little Nas X one where he was sliding down a pole into the devil's home, is it worse than that?
I never watched that one, but I heard it about it. I heard it being bad, so I've never watched it to compare. But this one was literally like personally attacking an individual who exists in real life. And some Kanye followers are very, loyal. So I mean, I just don't. I just hope he's not putting anything out there for
Oh
people to go and
yeah,
act on their own and do something thinking that Pete Davidson needs to be handled, if that makes sense.
right.
well, that was the drama from earlier when the song first came out. And then at the end of the video, it's written and says he's just playing, like he specifically lets you know if you didn't get it by the claymation with the words that he's talking about Pete Davidson, because he uses the name, but
Right.
he calls him Pete.
Yeah.
As far as comparison to that, and so like she said, this is a personal threat, and whoever surrounds him, I'm more concerned for Kim and her children because we're watching in real time this woman being stalked and harassed, and it's not cute, it's not funny, and if it happens to somebody with that much money and power, the average woman who this is happening to, who is scared for her life and her children's life, like the devil is busy. The spirit of rejection is a nasty little demon in comparison to what Lil Nas X did in that video. That video, you probably had to go repent after that just for watching it. It was wild, but they're two totally different things. They're two
Yeah.
totally different things. A lot of people tend to forget. People don't necessarily like the Old Testament, but Satan was the minister of music. His body is literally made of musical instruments. So there's a heavy demonic influence in the music industry. We see it time and time again. There's nothing new under the sun. It's just being broadcast everywhere due to the technology era that we're in. It's very unfortunate. When I do pray for the situation, I'm generally praying for Kim and those kids and Pete, because at this point, mental illness or not, he's aware of what he's doing, because right after he posts them, he deletes it. So, you know, there's accountability there.
Right.
He knows better. He just chooses not to do better. So whoever's assigned to him, good luck, sis.
What do you so
Bro.
just to wrap this up before we get back into y'all's stuff, because that's what I really want to talk about, is this stuff that y'all been writing. And I say stuff because, again, I'm mad at Michelle right now. Excuse me, Melinda. Anyways, what do you think, like, his to close out, do you think his whole movements is all a ploy to stay relevant and to stay in the eyes, or do you truly believe that there's something deeper that's happening with him? Because I guess the confusion comes from, how do you go so strong with this gospel album, which it was pretty good. 'Cause and I'll be honest, I was very resistant at first because I just didn't get what he was coming from and why. But then I had to have grace, right? Because we all could change at some point. So I was like, okay, let me take a listen. And I listened, and some of his songs was real, like, oh, okay. And they even had scriptures, and I even made sure, all right, he really is. Okay, cool. But then to go from that to this is like extreme. What do you take from this? What do you take?
I honestly, to be honest, I think he's a man who's really still who didn't process his grief well. I really think that. I really think he didn't process his grief well from his mom, and I think it kind of threw him into, a mental health crisis, and that he's been dealing with for a while now. And I think he's just grasping for whatever straws he can grasp for to make sense of things. And maybe at one point that was God. Maybe at one point that was, the gospel music maybe soothed his spirit, and maybe he just, went hard in that direction for a while. But even so, whatever healing, has needed to take place, maybe that has been overlooked or just not completely resolved. And I think now, even with this whole divorce situation, I feel like he's still just grasping for straws, just trying to make sense of everything. And at this point, maybe he feels better playing the victim, playing like the victim role, or because now he makes it out like, okay, well, I'm this black man being treated wrong, what he grasped onto Donald Trump at one point. So it's like he's just grasping for whatever he can find. And I think when he did the gospel stuff, he had the right people around him, because the music was excellent. And I know he didn't do that on his own. People were really, uh, managing that really with him and for him. And it was beautiful. His music is just amazing, the gift. But I think it was just a part of him grasping for straws. We benefited from it though, because we got some great music out of it. But I don't know that it took root to the place where he was needed for it to take root, if that makes sense.
No, totally.
Mhm.
You got anything you want to add to that?
You know, preface this for trolls on the internet. I don't know that man's salvation. I don't know his situation with God. I never listened to the album, so I can't actually speak on whether the music was good or powerful or whatever. But Satan knew the Bible too. So R. Kelly made gospel music. Our gifts are without repentance. I think that he is definitely spiraling in a heavy emotional crisis, brought on by grief and mental illness. And I think that he's battling with a lot of demons, and he has moments of reprieve. But I really, really hope that the people assigned to him physically and spiritually have the energy that they need, because it would be a waste of a very gifted individual for him to spiral out of control to the point where he harms someone or himself and has to pay those consequences. So we need to remember that our gifts are without repentance, whether we're saved or not. They're gonna work. So
Yeah, that's right. That's
Well,
right.
speaking of, maybe if he got my God today, he'd be able to start
I
to
need to
change his
send him a
life.
copy, Lord.
So let's get into these books. So as we get into these books, let me give everybody a quick little background on how I know both of you young ladies. So just real quick, when it
That
comes
was a
to
great segue, by the way. That was a beautiful
wasn't
right,
it?
segue.
it
Wasn't it?
was.
That was
Beautifully done.
thank you very
Beautifully
much.
done.
I appreciate that. So Melinda Michelle, my godmom, got me and my mom locked into your books years ago when you started the Chronicles of Warfare, starting with Surviving Sunday. And from there, you know, I would read them. And for the record, I am not one of those avid readers. I would rather sit and just rest my mind and watch a show than to read a lot of times. But when you give me a novel that really is like, okay, this is going to keep me intrigued and I'm really curious, like I will continue to read. And that's what came when it started with Chronicles of Warfare. It literally had me reading one book after Tuesday, then it was Wednesday, then it was Thursday, then I got through the whole week and I was like, okay, I need something else. And she kept pumping them out and I was like, all right, we rolling. So then, long story short, don't ask me. We ended up being friends on Facebook. I got into her little group, our little group that we have on Facebook. And I made a comment thinking that I was talking to another mentor of mine. And she commented back and she was commenting like she didn't, it was about my son. And she was commenting like she didn't know my son. And I'm like, Miss Michelle, why do you not know? You know, CT, what are you saying? Until I realized, oh, snap. I am talking to the author, Michelle Evans. Oh, yo. And I'm like hyped. And this is late, too. I'm hyped. I'm like, Daryl, Michelle she's texting me back on Facebook right now. Like, for real. So Daryl was like, yo, ask her to be on the podcast. No, like, no, bro, she ain't gonna do that. So then there was like, what? I mean, what's the irony that she's talking to you right now? And I was like, fine. So I texted and said, hey, would you? And she said, absolutely. And I was like, when it comes from Jesus, what he done for me? Right? I was hyped, okay? So she got on, and then ever since then, she has been my BFF low key. She just doesn't know it. And we've been just rocking ever since. So it's been phenomenal. So then we ended up doing the with our what is our little group called? The 8 of us, the council. There was the Melinda Michelle, the council, and in the council, she puts together the Zoom call with you, which was funny because I had just started reading. I think Melinda, you started posting about some of her devotions, and I was like, where are these devotionals coming from? Because they were like, right, like this is my kind of language. Like I'm the one who reads the Message Bible and then have to compare it to the King James version because I'm slow. The thous and the arts throws me all the way off, so I gotta message it all the way out. Okay, and so then with that, I was like, ooh. And then she started reading this. I said, this is a ratchet devotional, but it's still Jesus. Like, that's my life right there. Where is it? So I ended up ordering it. And then she ends up in our little council groups like, hey, we're going to have Dr. Lori on our next Zoom. And I was like, yo, come through, Lord. Like, you just know my heart. So I was excited that day. So I told Daryl that day, I was like, guess what? I got this book, and she's going to be on the thing, and I'm going to be in the Zoom call with them, too. So I've been OC.
When you do it.
Between the two of you guys, I have 100%. Somebody's that me buzzing. Daryl.
That's me.
Oh.
People won't let me be great.
I have 100% been reading your books, both of your guys' books. I have bought. I can guarantee you, when everybody sees this, that they will say, "Oh, Lee has bought me one of y'all's, if not both, books for people," because it's just, for me, it's in this time that we live in, it's the best way to get the word to people because it's connected to us. Like, we are not the traditional church anymore. You know, we have to have real life experiences to really connect to how God is talking to us or helping us and all that good stuff. And I believe through your stories, Melinda, and I believe through your devotions, Lori, that the two of them just, it's real, it's relevant, and it's in layman's terms. Like, you can't get lost. Like, I mean, you got the most lyrics. You start off with yours in My God Today with lyrics, and I'm like, for a hot second, I go right ratchet, and I'm like, wait. This is a devotion. Let me pull my life back together.
Right.
Right? So, enough of me talking about how much I love your guys' book. Tell me and tell the audience, like, how did y'all even get into writing? And we'll start with, since I'm looking right at my left, we'll start with Melinda. And by the way, everybody, you'll hear me call Melinda 150 names because she has 150 names. I know as her Michelle. Her books are Melinda Michelle. Her group is GM and me, Gwendolyn Melinda Michelle. So if at any point you're like, who's this lady that she keeps talking about and she's not on here, there's only two people. It's all her.
Guilty.
Okay? It's all her.
My daddy was very proud of his name. He gave my brother a junior, and he wanted me to have the same initials. So that's how I got all of those names. My mother still contends that Melinda is the name of an ex-girlfriend, but they never settled that argument. So I'm gonna mind my business. I started writing what I thought was an accident, turned out to be my purpose. God kind of slid it in there. I used to, if you read the series, there are several, every book, there's a Sunday dinner chapter in there. And my group of friends, we used to meet for Sunday dinner. My god sister's husband can throw down cooking. We would all hang out on Sunday. They're a bunch of idiots. In the first couple of books, some of those are real scenes from what happened at our Sunday dinners. And one day they were really wild. And I said, y'all a bunch of idiots. I'm gonna write a book about y'all, put it in the atmosphere. Sometime later, I just woke up one day and started writing. I wrote the chapter with Khadijah running for her life in the first book. Had no idea who she was running from, what the issue was. And I also wrote the chapter with Sheridan plotting to kill Seth after she found out about the baby. So these just random chapters just come into me. And so for 2 years, I just played around with it. Every now and then I go write it. And the guy I was dating at the time really pissed me off. So I had all these emotions and nothing to deal with. And I came home and just poured all those emotions into finishing the book. And I was like, I'm done, y'all. I'm done. Had no intention of publishing. Really, nobody even read it. I had no idea. I just wrote it, and I got consumed in it. And God was like, okay, now that you've done what you want to do, let me show you what I want to do. And so that's when I went back and wrote The Angels and Demons. And then from that point on, that's why Sunday is written in first person and the rest of them are written in third person. So that's kind of my journey. I got the spiritual warfare bug. I read Frank Peretti's This Present Darkness and Piercing the Darkness years ago. I read them several times. I love the books. And the only thing, they was missing a little melanin, and I wanted to see some melanin. But I remember saying to my mother, I was like, I want to write about spiritual warfare one day, but I got to wait for God to show it to me, because you can't open that door for people and not let it be, real. And so that was years ago. So just these little comments that you put, I say your words have power, their spirit and life. So there were words that I put into the atmosphere that God used to bring about my awareness to my assignment in the earth. So that's my writing story. And I am 41. I think I got 41 or 42 books. I don't know.
You got a lot, and I've read every single one of them, and somebody can test me if they want to, okay? Period. So, let's go over Dr. Lori, the newly married, right?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I feel at home with us not having these identity crises with our names. Because my name is really okay. So Dr. Lori Elise Kroom, that's the name you guys know. The book Kroom is my maiden name. I was married once before, so technically now being a doctor, as an optometrist, I'm Dr. Jasper because that's, still on my little stuff. But then now I'm newly married, so my last name is changing to Bush. So it's just a lot going on. People don't know what to call me. I don't even know how to advise them on that. I don't even know. Like it's tough out here in these name streets. But yeah, no, how I got started on writing. Um, Honestly, it was the pandemic that did it. I was working, and I'm a mom, and so when the pandemic hit, according to the CDC, we really had to shut down my optometry clinic. I'm from Birmingham. I have a optometry clinic here, and when we shut down, and I was like staying home, kind of helping my kids with virtual school, kind of losing my mind a little bit. If you've had to do virtual school, you'll know it's a fool. But anyway, so I was kind of struggling there. And so I asked God, like, well, what do you want me to do with this time? Because, at the time I didn't know how long we would be closed or, what was going to happen. So, and then I said, well, what do you want me to do with this time? And he said, oh, you can write your book. Now, mind you, I didn't know I had a book. Didn't know I had a book at all. So when he said that, I was like, my book? He was like, yeah. So um, to kind of give a little background, I was online just on Instagram and Facebook giving these little sermonettes, like take a minute long and take a little a song lyric that everyone knows. Could be anything from, trap music to, R&B. And I would preach it for like 1 minute and then extract a word. That's like my sixth sense, is to be able to extract a word from just about anything. So I was able to do that. I did it once. There was a Wipe Me Down. That was the one that really just hit my spirit. Wipe Me Down, I always heard God talking to me. When Wipe Me Down would come on, I would hear God. And so I made a video about it. And I was like, oh, this is funny. I'll just share it to my Instagram. They'll find it funny. They lost it. They was just like all over the place. So then I was like, oh, let me share it to Facebook. Just, they might see it funny too. And then it went viral. So it ended up with having like millions of views across platforms. It was on World Star. It was on the Shade Room.
Oh, wow.
It was Vibe magazine did an article on it on their website, and it was wild out there. VH1 did too, and so after that, people started messaging me like strangers, like, oh, that was, I really, that made me laugh, but it was also a word. And, really, I needed that encouragement. And can you pray for me and my husband? Because we've been going through this, that, and the third. And can you make more videos? And so me, I was just like, okay, pray for husband, more videos. Sure, got it. And so that's how I started making. I made a page on Instagram called My God Today, where I would do the videos for people, and people would love them. And when God told me to write the book, He was like, "That's your book." So the Holy Spirit just kind of gave me what to write, and sat down while I was away from work in 2020. Wrote the book, started writing it not long after. I was probably about halfway done with it when I had to return to work. So I was only off for like 2.5 months. And I returned to work, and then I finished the rest of it by that September is when I came out with it in September of 2020. So it took me a little less than 6 months to write the book. Yeah, like 5 months or so. And it ended up doing well, and it ended up people really identified with it, became one of the best, like the number one new release on Amazon for a while, and it still does well. 2021, I ended up somehow writing another book, uh, which is wild because I was not off work at all. And and that was God be knowing. Yep, that was God be knowing. And this one is a little different. Instead of the lyrics, it uses catchphrases from that we see on social media online all the time. And so that one was cool, but it was harder to write because I wasn't off work. I didn't have any breaks, and my therapist was like, I think you're maybe putting too hard of expectations on yourself to finish this book because it's not really normal to be writing a whole 365-page book in, the short amount of time. That I was like, that's not how it's done. No. And she's just like, because my ignorance about writing and ignorance about being an author, it gave me an advantage because I didn't have anything I didn't know. I was just like, oh, is this not normal? She was like, no, ma'am, that's not. I was like, oh, okay. I thought this is what we do. So I'm not really like an author by trade, but people have been able to enjoy the books. And so I'm grateful and I just give the credit to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
That's that.
these are the bumps. So I got your book like in June or July-ish. So now I read through the year, so now I have to finish, to go to the beginning until I get
Go
to
back.
June again. And then I'll start the new one. See, it's still fresh. This one is tore
I
up.
like the new one. I like the
This
new
one
one.
is tore
The
up.
new one's a good book.
But this, yes, these are the bomb, and it's so funny because when every time I read it, certain ones stand out either because I've gone through it or I know somebody who I'm connected to, and so I'll just post. And the comments that I get in my inbox every single time, A is like, "Where did you get this from?" B, "Why are you telling my business?" And then C, like, I need to get that. Can you get it for me? Can you just tell me? Like, it's a whole thing. So it's
You're the
amazing.
real MVP. You are the real MVP. I appreciate the shares because that's the only way, with being self-published and everything. And, that's really the only way it's been spreading is just word of mouth and people sharing it with others and people asking about it. So I thank you.
Absolutely.
I
Listen,
appreciate it.
I am that one. If I love it, everybody's going to love it. So just like Melinda's books, like for me, your books are just, it makes you look at life from a different perspective. And Lori, I'm not
Mhm.
sure if you ever read any of Melinda's books at all, but
I have them. I haven't read them yet.
oh, you have, girl. Let me tell you. You think writing these books is gonna take your time? Wait till you start reading. And like Daryl can attest, I'd be up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, sitting here reading this foolishness that she writes, and then be mad when I get to the end and she leaves me on a cliffhanger like Perfect Pretender. But we ain't gonna go there just yet, okay? We gonna. I'm gonna breathe for a second because she still got me hot about this whole thing. But with her books, what I love is the fact that it makes you look at life from a different lens. Whereas if you go through something, you see the person for who they are and what you see in that very moment. Somebody go to the DMV. They got a stinking attitude. Now I got an attitude because you don't got no reason to be an attitude because you're in customer service and I'm here to be your customer. Whoop de whoop, right? But
Right.
after reading her book, now it's like, oh, you got a spirit, some
Mm.
kind of spirit
There's
on
some
you.
things happening right
So,
there.
you know what? I'm going to give you grace before I flip all the way
Mm.
out. Let me breathe for
That's
a second
good.
because you might be going through something that I just don't see in the flesh. So, let me give you that
That's
grace.
good.
But this is why her books are so important because if people read that, I truly believe many will step into life and look at life very differently from the way that you currently do because it challenges you to see beyond what you're seeing in the very moment. It really makes you think. And then even when you're going through your own personal situations, it makes you say, okay, this ain't what it is. It's something deeper. Let me
Yeah.
really ask God to help me see this and how to go through this whole process so I can get out of it. So
Yeah.
that is why I
That's
share
good.
all of her books. Cause I'd be like, what is your email? Cause I will just Amazon. It's all online, so you guys don't even have to get the physical. You know, people like to be on their phones. Here, do this on your phone from now on. Okay. So,
Yeah. That's
um,
good. I'm going on a plane next week. I will carry my books with me so I can be reading them on the plane.
listen, start with that Surviving Sunday, and once you get through halfway, text me and tell me how you feel because I'm trying to tell you, she gonna put you through an emotional journey for unnecessary reasons. Okay, just
It's necessary.
whatever right now. Okay,
You remember the stories though, don't you? Because
listen,
your emotions.
that's irrelevant. Okay, because I'm still stuck on this right now. So let's go ahead and jump to that. Okay, so you've done Chronicles of Warfare.
Mhm.
For me, because I'm a vet, that's old. So I need you to go to the newbies with your siblings and your perfect pretender. But I do tell the people, how did you go? Because I mean, once you get into her book, and Lord, let me forewarn you, I'm telling you right now, once you get into it, you're gonna be locked in. And there's so many different aspects, from the warfare to the families to the siblings to just, and everybody at some point is connected. And it's like, and like it's even has challenged me sometimes where I'd be like, oh wait, and I gotta go back because she has the characters written out in some of the books, but I didn't get that in this one, just for the record. But she has past characters written out in the book, so if you ever forget, she's got highlights too to remind you who they are. But how is it your characters that you created? I know you said earlier that it kind of stemmed from your personal experiences. As you continue to evolve all these books, are these still personal experiences, or are you starting to be a little bit more creative, and pulling things from whatever God is telling you that you might see? You know, like we're talking about a Kanye, like maybe you end up bringing a Kanye type person into your book. Like, where are they coming from now?
So I'll say this. As a reader, I was an avid reader, and if a book invoked every emotion, then that's the book that stuck with me. That's the book that I would reread again. So as an author, it is my goal to inflict every emotion there is on the reader. And if you're not upset with me at the end of the book, then I didn't do my job. That's how I personally feel as an author, just because those are the books that I identify with the most. That stuck out to me like that. And I'm a little bit petty. And when my imagination goes so far, I'd be like, okay, Holy Spirit, help me. I want to traumatize them. Let me know how to jack up all the characters at one time. Like he said, acknowledge me in all your ways and I will direct your path. It's literal. So
he did not say be mean. He did not
it's
say
not mean.
nowhere.
It's not mean. It is creative. No, because so here's the thing. A lot of times, so like I had no idea that the books were gonna go to sex trafficking. Like when I was writing Monday and all, I had no idea. So some of the storylines did not appear to me until I began to write that book. But what was very interesting is all the plot lines that he gave me that I had no idea about, the foreshadowing for that character lined up with it. So I knew all the time, like I never had to worry about, oh, what did I say in a previous book? Because it all lined up with where they ended up as you progress through the series. So only those core characters in Sunday Dinner kind of I developed from the personalities of that group of friends, but everybody that's an extension of them were my imagination, just the way that God would see. I write because I have vision. So I see stuff and I just turn around and write what I see. And because I remember one time there is a scene where 2 questions I get when people read the series is Naomi's plot to get pregnant from Seth. People have the unmitigated gall to ask me, did I ever try to trap a man into pregnancy? No. But I thought about it. And if I was in that situation and decided to do it, that is what I would have done. Freaks people out. The other situation is, because it's very elaborate. The other situation is one of the characters has a miscarriage and it's very graphic. And people ask me, well, had you had a miscarriage? No, I've never been pregnant. So that experience, but when people who have had that experience, they were like, oh my God, this was so real. This is very similar to what I went through. And I see it. I literally saw that scene in a vision, which is in itself is disturbing. And I just write what I see. So my gift is a seer. And I'm also, my other gift is being a spiritual warfare strategist, where I can strategize the spiritual warfare once you tell me what's going on. And so all of that pours into the books. And when I got to these new characters, when I started my Patreon page and I got to these new characters where I write these novellas, again, just me thinking my shenanigans, you know what I'm saying? I'm just making this foolishness up. But then I get to Amaris's book and now he's adding them to the Chronicles of Warfare. Like, wait a minute, what? How did that happen? You know what I'm saying? So like, it's God is very sovereign. And while I think I'm working in the moment, he's actually, giving me insight for what's to come. The only thing about the first series, the with the King siblings, what brought that the catalyst situation, my dad died and experiencing death, all of that and everything that comes with it kind of gave me the idea to let me start with a death, because that unlocks a lot of emotions, and a lot of generational curses are evident when somebody dies. And so that was the catalyst for that. So that was that. And with The Perfect Pretender, and The Covet Queen comes out at the end of the month. Yeah, these characters are very ratchet. I can't identify with any of them, and I don't like them.
First of all,
So
this book was real, like
they are
real.
really,
No,
they make
these
bad
were
choices.
really, yes. Because this one, I was like, great day. Ain't nobody gonna
They
pull her.
make bad
First,
choices. Like,
listen,
as a kid, I never got a whooping for the same thing twice. Like, you ain't got to tell me but one time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you
hello.
got to tell me one time. So it's harder for me to identify with them, but I do know that these scenarios are real. And what I like about it is eventually, not yet, because they still making bad choices. I get to show God's grace in these giant trifling situations, right? Like, even God's grace is bigger than the mess you got yourself in. And so that's what I like. I like to bring in God's grace for everybody, because a lot of Christian books are very, cookie cutter and politically correct, and they only deal with stuff on the surface. They don't deal with the nasty, ugly, really, really demonic stuff. And that's kind of where my books go. My books dive deep, deep, deep down in the hell.
Listen, they are a hot mess, okay? So it's three things I gotta piggyback off of. For one, I can attest to your strategist, your godly talents and strategy, because you have been part of the reason why I was able to fight for our marriage that we was going through. As you could see when Daryl came into the new year and gave his shout out, talking about he only gave 60% to his wife, hallelujah, and he has been on it ever since. Thank you, Jesus. And so that I can 100%. The things that you did and the tools that you helped me with was phenomenal, and still something that I keep in my pocket and to be able to share for the next lady. But then when it comes to your books, have you ever, when people ask you, just like for me, you saying what you're saying is nothing. Like being a seer, being able to have visions, that's nothing to me. I've seen it on my own accords. I believe it. So it's nothing. But have you ever had resistance from people when you tell them that and they're like, yeah, right. Like, you just got a good imagination? Or do you?
No, I'm not really in wild circles like that. Now, when God takes this to another level, I'm pretty sure those conversations are going to come in. But what I honestly got was a lot of emails and inboxes and phone calls. Oh my God, this character is like me. I'm a dreamer. I experienced this as a kid. I never said anything to anybody because nobody would believe me. So my books actually validated the gifts in other people to let them know that they weren't crazy. And this is a real thing. This is not something that you should be afraid of. This is something that you should embrace. This is something that God gave you for a reason. And even though it can be traumatic, I am not negating that. I've just been in it for a long time. So it's like, I see a demon. Okay, that's, it's a Tuesday, whatever. That's normal to me. I get that that's not normal to other people. But there were a lot of people that reached out to me where I validated their experiences, and they no longer thought something was wrong with them.
Dr. Lori, have you ever experienced any of this or seen it yourself firsthand?
As far as what?
Being a seer, having visions, maybe
absolutely.
encountering your own demonic spirits.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime that you are, sensitive to the spiritual realm, like it's hard not to see.
Did you have any
It's
battles
hard
when you
not.
were writing your books?
But did I have any battles?
Yeah,
Girl,
sometimes.
oh my goodness. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. I really was like I was looking around like left and right, because I really felt like this, especially this last book, was going to help so many people. I was like, the devil is really trying to take me out of here. Like, I was literally like, in traffic, just like people swerving over. And I'm just like, not before I get this book out. Like I was really I was really fighting. And so there was a lot of spiritual warfare that had to go on, just for me to even be able to make it through that, that time. And my fiance at the time, he was, he had to go in for me. He had to war for me. He was fasting, he was covering me, because it was very difficult. And I would say the hardest thing that I honestly have ever done was to write this most recent book. That's probably the hardest. And I just kept saying, Lord, let this bitter cup pass from me, because it was like he was giving me the words, and I was, but it was just like I really had to press through, just to get to the other side of that. And but it spiritually, it was that way when you have a big assignment coming up, or or you're being obedient to God. That's really the time where, I always think about, in terms of, in the New Testament, Paul says that, there's a great door and effectual, and there are many adversaries. And that was it was a door for them, an opportunity for them to do ministry, but there were so many adversaries. And I always envision myself getting ready to step through a door that is literally surrounded by all these adversaries, demons, like literally just trying to throw everything they can at me. Everything but the kitchen sink is just like stuff happening left and right. And it's like, not that they can't get me, they can't stop me from going through the door, but they can get, like, if they want to, they can get me so distracted that I choose to turn around and not walk through the door like I should, or to scare me, or to, keep me from going on through that door. So anytime, like when it seems like all hell starts breaking loose in my life, I know that I'm standing near a door, and that I just need to keep pressing through, because on the other side of the door, of course, the adversaries can't get there. So I just I'm actually, on the side, I'm actually a preacher on the side as well. So I didn't start preaching till 2020. And it, right before my first preaching, my first ever message, that was like one of the hardest times in life, because it's just like stuff happening, everything but the kitchen sink being thrown at me. And I don't know if you've ever seen that meme of Alfre Woodard, where she's looking like a crackhead and her hair's all over the place. That's how I felt. I felt like Alfre Woodard, like, no, I'm fine. No, I'm okay.
Right.
I'm all right. But really, I wasn't. So my pastor was like, oh, you think you're supposed to be able to just be obedient and not have any type of push back on that? And he was like, anytime you're, being obedient or completing an assignment, yeah, there's going to be an adversary. So yeah, man, I've had shoot. I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, you did, because I think the jewels that you just said is the fact that when you're on a verge of a breakthrough, when you're on a verge of something great, that's going to be the hardest time of your life a lot of times, or the hardest season.
It is.
Right?
It has been, yeah.
And I think in those moments, those words that you just said were necessary for many to hear, because I believe that a lot of times we go through these tough times, these tribulations and these trials, and we just don't know, and we end up just giving up because it's just too hard, but not understanding the door is right there. You just got to go through it. You got to stay through the test to get to the door, and then your greatness and your peace is on the other side of it, right? So I think that was necessary for people to hear, to be able to connect and to continue to push through. I mean, we got two phenomenal ladies right here who you guys have written some magnificent books that I truly hope after everybody hears this show and watches this show that they go get it, so that they are able to start the steps to change their lives. But the biggest thing for me at this moment was just pushing through the adversity. If it's hard, if it's crazy, that means something big is there, and the enemy is trying to get you to deter from going through that door. You can't do it, because if you do, something really, really big is about to happen that's going to shake everything up. So thank you for
you're a threat.
that.
You're like a threat. Yeah.
Right.
So can I say when I can absolutely, the first time I had to preach, all hell broke loose. The first book that I got to that really, really got deep down into the demonic world was Temptation Tuesday. That book took over a year to write. That book, I had to be ordained as a deacon before God would even show me what was in it. I had to have a special covering to write it. And so that book took me through hell. If I had children, and it would be my least favorite. If the books were my kids, that would be my least favorite. But, and I think this is when God birthed the strategist in me. And I say this to Lord because there may be another book or another assignment coming for you. But I learned, I was like, no, I'm not going through what I went through with Tuesday. I knew Thursday was going to have that same type of vibe. I knew Thursday was going to have that same type of, spiritual indication that it was going to be a lot of opposition. I was like, I'm not going through what I went through with Tuesday. So I began to preemptively strike, like fast ahead of time, pray ahead of time. You know what I'm saying? So
That's
I
good.
began to become the attacker versus responding to an attack. And that's when God birthed that in me. And I saw, well, Tuesday took me a year and a half to write. Thursday, I wrote Thursday in 4 months, and it was the longest book I had written up to that date. And that's the one that dealt with sex trafficking and the criminal world and the visions that principalities and stuff that I had never tapped into before. And so it wasn't, the warfare was there.
Right.
The warfare was there, but it was no way, I didn't get knocked down. I didn't even get pushed back.
So how
You know
do
what
you
I'm
tell
saying? I
people
was
to see
able
that?
to,
That's
How,
good.
how can we see that? Like, how can we? Because so I like what you said when you said you attack. You were prepared for the attack instead of reacting, right? You were
That's good.
proactive instead of being reactive, which is something as a basketball coach. That's what we tried to emphasize in the game. Like, this pass is about to happen. If any point you see a girl on one side of the court and she puts her hands over her head with the ball in her hand and she's about to do this, she's about to do what we call skip pass to the other side of the court. So don't react. Be proactive. Be on the balls of your feet, ready to anticipate that steal, right? So
right.
how do you, in this instance, what do you say to us in life where we can be more proactive instead of reactive?
In life, you have patterns in your life that other people don't. So as a writer, I know based on the content of the book, now I can gauge the spiritual implication, which book is going to make Satan the maddest, right? So I adjust my spiritual warfare to that. So whatever the pattern is life, and this is the most basic one I can give because almost everybody can relate to this, and they will at some point. When my dad, I have a season of grief. My dad passed in 2019. His birthday is this month, March 21st, and he died on Mother's Day, which is May 12th. So that is my season of grief. So I know that I'm going to be in my feelings. I know that I'm going to be testy. I know it's been 2 years now. I know exactly how I'm going to react in that situation. I don't know when, I don't know how, because grief is random, but I can write a strategic prayer prior to my season of grief, and I can start praying ahead of time.
Okay.
To stave off that, simply because, like you said, it's not necessarily the attack so much as what it becomes. You don't do the assignment, or you get distracted and you forget about the assignment. So that's what you're trying to avoid. And the other thing that I learned is strategic fasting, because at the end of the day, when Jesus prayed all the time. That's the bare minimum we got to do, is have a strong prayer life. But you're gonna hit a wall in your prayer life where it doesn't move because you didn't add fasting to it. But when you add fasting to it, you can't just decide that I'm just not going to eat. I'm going to eat differently or whatever. You have got to not only silence your flesh. So in addition to denying myself some type of food, I take away 2 things that I like to do. They don't necessarily have to be a sin, just something that my flesh enjoys. For me, it's R&B music. If I can't tell Google to play something on Pandora while I'm writing or doing whatever, that annoys me. So I'll take that away and maybe something else, right? So now I'm trying to silence my flesh as much as possible. What is it that I'm going through? If this is grief, then I'm going to find scriptures specifically about grief or leaning on God or stuff about my mind. So when you strategically fast, you do more than just remove food to suppress your flesh. And you're very strategic in this word that you put in your system. Why are we looking for a healing scripture if you're grieving?
Sure.
It's you're throwing. It's the difference doing this and fighting like this. We ain't doing it. We going straight, like every punch you land in the spirit, every punch you throw in the spirit must land on its target to be effective.
Like the fight that you
And
had in
so,
The Perfect Pretender.
yeah, I had a friend who at the time God was showing all this to me. She is very hardcore and little thugums, and she was something happened in her life. It was crazy. She was on my sofa boohoo crying. And I was like, oh, I'm a there. I'm not really that soft person. So I was like, hey, God just showed me this thing about strategic factors. Can I try it out on you? Like she was in crisis, and I'm like, I need you to be my spiritual warfare guinea pig.
You
Let
was
me
like,
write this strategy, right? And so, so for however many days, we just ask the Holy Spirit, because some things may take 3 days, 7 days, 10 days, 21 days, 40 days. I even had to do a 60-day fast for somebody. So you need to ask the Holy Spirit first what the length of days that you need to fast for it in the beginning. And then once you set that up, you need to make sure that you're praying every day, and you need to make sure that you're reading your word every day. And your word is specifically tied to the things that you're trying to break.
Yeah, that's definitely good. I think that's what I've missed. I would say I have been very, very strong, but that was a nice little nugget right there about now asking for the length, because I think sometimes I get lost with how long I should be doing certain things for, and I might not get the answers I might be seeking or the peace, because I've also learned that sometimes we go through just trials, or we just go through the motions. A lot of times we're doing good, we're reading, we're studying, we're fasting, but are we being intentional with everything that we're doing, right? So this is the season that I'm in, is every time that I step into something, I would like to be more intentional about it. And then again, surrounding myself with the right people who are able to also feed in and uplift and give me the right words and talk when needed to be talked to, like you did your girlfriend. I would love for you to meet one of my best friends who's out in Florida, because she is just
I
as
got
strong
you.
as you.
I'm down. I know almost your whole family. Your whole family like reaches out to me.
I know that, but see, it's because of me. Thank you, Lord, for
It's
connection.
because
Because
of
that all of them, they be like, Tish and everybody be like, oh, I just
So
talked to,
I'm
and I
Lee's
be like,
cousin. I'm Lee's godmother. I'm Lee's mother.
I appreciate it. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. Do you guys, when you write, do you guys have any like necessary quirks that you do in order to like get through your writing? So like for me, before any game, right? There was a certain routine that I had to do to ensure, just a mental thing that I did to ensure that I knew I was going to play as strong as I could. So do you guys, as you write, are there certain quirks that you like? You have to have gummies every time you write or something like that. Oh, look at Dr. Dolores.
No, I just deactivate my Facebook account. I just deactivate it because honestly, I just don't. There's so much random stuff going on in the world and in my timeline. I just don't even need to be. I'll be thinking about that stuff, and I just can't. So I just every time. I think people know at this point if I can't find her, if she didn't defriend me, some people would get mad at first. If she didn't remove me as a friend, she's probably gonna come out with another book because I deactivate my account for the entire time that I'm writing. So if I'm on Facebook, just know I'm not working on a book. If I'm off Facebook, I might be. Or I might not be. I might just be off of there because, sometimes you just got to get off of there. But yeah, that's what I do. I deactivate and stay off of it.
Melinda, what you got? I know you probably got a whole bunch
I
of foolishness.
can't think of anything that I do consistently. I'm so random. I don't even write in order. Like I don't write my books in order. So it's random. It's just random. The only thing that I do now that I have my group, I'll go in there and start harassing y'all, or I'll ask y'all to tell me, like, I can't remember details about characters, but y'all know them so well. Like, hey, did I do this with this character? And I'll get y'all feedback and stuff like that. But other than that, it's just as random as it'll be, whatever. Like,
that is fact. Dr. Lord, you need to add Dr. Lord to our
Sometimes
face,
I
to
light
our
a
group.
scented candle.
Oh,
Sometimes I light a scented candle.
That was so nice.
Sometimes I light a scented candle.
my allergies are horrible. I have to give a shout out to my editor extraordinaire, Brittany Prince Merville, who introduced us because she knows
My
that
high
I'm
school
rapping.
classmate.
And she was like, I used to have, matter of fact, I used to have a radio station like show years ago, and I used to do this segment called Ignorant Bible Moments. And she was like, you would love Dr. Lori's book, like it's so up your alley. And that's how I found my God today. And that's how I started talking to y'all about my God today. And then that Brittany was the one that's like, I
That's
know her, I
it.
went to school with her. And
That's Brittany.
Look
they
at
got
that.
it.
Look at that connect. Look at all these little connects. See, that just lets me know that
Yeah.
now we need to do like a woman connection group and put all of us
God be
together
knowing.
to do something awesome. Just maybe just
I'm
have
here
fun.
for it.
Listen, I am too.
God be
I
knowing.
need to come down to Florida because I need to.
When the plague is gone, we need to all meet up in a nice city with some sunshine and a pool and a beach.
Yes,
And a
I
beach.
agree. All three of those, hands down.
I think I am on a different time zone than you guys. So unfortunately I'm having to go. But
Yes,
I have
we're about to
enjoyed
close
being
out.
here. Thank you guys for the support, for the love. Thank you for inviting me. I would love to do this again. This is a great show.
Thank you.
Show.
It's a
Thank
show.
you.
It's
It
a
I
was
love the
show.
backdrop. The host was amazing. I give it 5 stars. Production staff, very good. Child upstairs, you held it down. You didn't.
Everything
Michelle,
worked
you
out
was looking
today.
fine over there. Everybody, this is beautiful. I love it.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I know you got to go do your doctor thing, so handle
Yeah,
business.
back to work.
Everybody else,
She's
we
grown up.
appreciate you tuning in to the Real Love and Basketball. We will connect with you guys again next Thursday at noon. So hold on tight. We'll be back soon. Peace.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Never not, never under y'all, never ever, I'm forever on. Check my repertoire, check my repertoire, don't check me now. Unless it's checks involved, I've been feeling like I'm next to God. Next to God, next to God. Never not, never under y'all, never ever, I'm forever on. Check my repertoire, don't check me now. Unless it's checks involved, I've been feeling like I'm next to God. Next to God, next to God. Never fold, never ever fold, never ever stone a rolling stone till I'm